It is definitely July humidity. I've got sweat dripping, beading off of me. Look at that on the shovel. Ain't no joke out here today, but this deep stuff is where you're gonna find the good artifacts that ain't broke. All right, I've cut out about a whole foot to the north, about a foot down. Got a decent woodland point. I think I'm in woodland triangle area. I don't think I'm in that big sandy archaic size. Look at that shell line running across through there. Got a decent point right here. That might actually be a piece of a drill. But this is what's really cool. I just threw down. I think this is an ulna bone, or it's like a trigger awl. I've got one that's a lot smaller, like from a beaver or a otter, but this one's a whole lot bigger. Look at that point. This is like an old utensil almost, kind of like puncturing leather, using this tip right here, like a sewing needle almost. I bet if I clean this off, y'all can see where it's filed down even better. That's like a pretty much old kitchen utensil. I got the bone cleaned up. That is a textbook deer ulna bone used as a trigger awl. You can see how that just fits perfect in my hand like that. See that split? See how smooth and where they grounded that off at to make it a nice sharp point of needle tip. Piercing that thick leather like a sewing needle, even like digging out the meat of a nut, hickory nut. The smaller awls could have been used like rake out bone marrow inside the already cracked bone, a pick for the teeth, anything this could have been used for like that. Basket weaving could have been used as that as well. That fits like a glove. I've got a small one. I think it came off an otter or a beaver. Look at that right there. That's why they use that bone. That'd have been perfect. So that's a couple 1,000-year-old sewing needle right there. Multi-tool. Very good find there. See, what I like to do when it's so hot out here, heat index is like 105 to 109 today, but see how I've got it dug down deep? If I know I'm coming back the next day, I like to leave like a shelf like this and kind of make little small indentions, little pools in it, and I'll fill it up with water. I'll let that water soak. That way when I come back and dig the next day, it ain't quite like hard as a rock. I can still chip this away and I'm still able to sift it. I can't sift it when they're hard as a rock like that. It just won't go through and it wears me out. But that's how I keep progress going as I make my way that way. Might be a pretty neat thumb scraper right there. Yeah, it did clean up good. That's a dang cool hide scraper right there. That's a flake, and they just went ahead and utilized it as another tool. They weren't gonna be able to make an arrowhead out of it, but it turned out to work in their favor. The flake, yeah, they'd have held it just like that and raked that fat off the inside of that hide. Some real nice color to it. Got something freed up right here finally. I'm about to break loose. That looks like maybe a toy, a kid's axe. I found one of these before. See that right there? I think this is like a kid's toy axe or something, because whatever this rock is, it's a lot too brittle to be like for an actual axe. I think you see it deteriorating right there. That's one I found before, and the shape's pretty close to it. Like a little young preteen, younger than that, kid's axe. I'm pretty sure that's what that is. Yeah, my phone is overheating from this heat. I can't even record because my phone keeps shutting off. We're gonna pick up that early in the morning. Maybe it won't be so hot. I really wanted to finish cutting out this entire chunk right here, which I can see that's some orange clay, probably some fill-in dirt from the midden. So it ain't worth the time or energy to chip away at that just yet. I'm gonna prep this little ledge right here. I'm gonna Maddox it out, and I'm gonna throw some water on it, keep it softened up and moistened. I'm gonna try to come back probably maybe late this evening or in the morning and finish working out this bank. Because right below it is that shell midden. See that shell line? So I feel like I'm still gonna find some stuff right there. Maybe make my way back this way. It's just entirely too hot to be down here doing this today. I'm wringing wet. Well, my little moistened up trick that I had with that trench of water worked pretty good. I'm able to shave down pretty decent. I think we got the best point so far out of here. Looks like it's a little dinged up. I'm gonna clean this off right away. Now that she's clean, I don't know if I got another Coosa side notch like we had earlier, or if this is a really worn down big sandy point, which is archaic, a whole lot older than a Coosa side notch, or maybe like a Camp Creek variation, which is kind of what I'm leaning. We're still in that woodland period, so I'm gonna say Camp Creek variation, maybe Coosa side notch. You can see the base right here. This one is broke, but it's got some size and looks like it's well crafted on the tip. Yeah, that would have been a badass point. All right, we're about 3 foot deep right here. It's something flat shape, so I figured I'd start recording this. I'm gonna guess like a hand chopping tool. Maybe it's an actual axe. There it goes, come on. Let's see if we can pull it out now. Come on, get out of there. Got some length. All right. Yeah, that could be a hand axe or some big cooking stone. Like I said, it's worked on that edge. That is probably, I don't know if that's going to be more of a splitting axe head. You can see it's flaked right here on the bit end, I think. Or is that going to be like a cooking stone? Let's wash this off. I think this is a actual artifact. See this flaking edge right here? So it has this zigzag pattern on the bit end, which this would be the chopping end. I think this was used as like a hand axe to break open some bones. Got enough weight behind it, so I would have grabbed it. Got a little spot here, might have been flaked right there. Looks like it might have been flaked on this top edge as well. See that zigzag, which this is like banded quartzite material, so this ain't favorable to flake. It's real hard material, so I think this was just a real quick break open some joints and some bones, maybe scrape some bones, some sinew off the bone itself like that. I think this is like a hand adze, and especially it coming out of this fire pit midden right here makes a whole lot more sense because this material is out of place. I never find this kind of ironstone, banded quartzite, whatever it is, out of place. So I think this is a old kitchen tool right here. Yeah, I like this artifact. That's what I'm gonna call it. Let me know if y'all got any suggestions what it might be. I bet we are about 4 foot deep, getting close to 5 foot. I think we got potential smoker. I ain't gonna hold my breath. Yeah, we got the base all there. Yep, not a smoker, but we got a fully intact point finally. Yep, I'm gonna go with a Kirk corner notch right here. Nice color to it. We're a little bit deeper, so that makes sense being older, archaic. Bet we was in that woodland midden about a foot higher. Now we're about 6 inches to a foot deeper. We're gonna find some older points. Yep, that is a well-used Kirk corner notch. Look, that's only the size of the tip of my middle finger. That point probably started out as big as these 2 fingers put together and slowly got resharpened down to its size. We're in this thing deep. Got another bone on the bone. That's another broken trigger awl right there. I bet I'm 4 feet deep down in this hole by now. You can see how the soil transitions down. See how this charcoal coming up? Down here at the very base, see that little white ring right there? That's like the ash from these fire pits. See the shell ring coming around? And I can start to see some orange coming through, so that's the absolute baseline of human activity. So this is probably where they were sitting up to 8,000 years ago, sometimes 10,000 in our areas, cooking in these deer bones and whatnot. And so this is their trash pit living surface from way back when. I don't know if we're gonna have to wrap this dig up or not. I think so. My board's done gave way. I'm leaking all my dirt back to where I don't want it. But I can show you one thing that's cool. See that orange clay? That's the absolute bottom of human civilization pretty much. That's the very base, which I'm scraping this really soft back because that's the last layer where this rich dirt would have met the orange. So that was their base layer. You can still find some artifacts down here, but we are about 4 foot deep. Check that out. So we're basically going back in time up to 8,000 years ago, seeing where they would have cooked up all these deer and other animals and whatnot and sat around and did God knows what, really. Got something flat kind of showing. Don't know if that's going to be a piece of pottery or what, but there's a lot of deer antler around this. Looking like it's going to be just a piece of a pottery bowl. I was hoping it was going to be made of stone. Still picking around this bowl edge. It's got a lot of weight behind it, which that's a good sign. It means it's a bigger piece in there. See that really hot ash right here? That's when that high heat shell would have been cooked up, I believe, and leaving this white residue. And there's your normal charcoal residue. So that's where this was left thousands of years ago, sitting here cooking on this piece of pottery bowl or whatever was within it. I got it loosened up enough to get out, I think. Let's see it. This is the satisfying moment right here. Yep, I got it wiggling. There it comes. Dang, that's cool. That's a sharp curve right there. That's like I bet that's like the base off of it. Yep, that's the very bottom of the pot, I believe. I don't have a piece like this. See, it's funnel shaped. For some reason, I don't know why they were shaped really kind of odd like that. Damn, that's cool. Yep, that might be one of the neatest pieces of potteries I've ever had. Look at that. Ain't seen the daylight. Probably, I'll check the style on it. At least 2,000 years. Could be up to 8,000 like I've been saying. But that's the base off of it. Check that out. Now that's some history right there. And that was what they was cooking in probably. Had that pot set right on top of this hot ash right here. It was probably just sitting there cooking until it finally broke and they just chunked it in here with the trash and the rest of it. Heck yeah, now that's a cool piece. That's gonna clean up good. That's gonna display nice sitting like that too. Here's everything we pulled out of that dig. That's about a 7-day dig right there. A lot of quantity up here at the top, a bunch of broken tips, points, bases. Got my better stuff down here at the bottom. I'll show you at the end, of course. A little piece of a steatite bowl, probably some kind of hand polisher. These natural stones that fit. Pretty natural in the hand, got used for multi-tools. This stone's pecked around the edge a pretty good bit. Some kind of, another working tool. Found that pretty deep. That's a concretion. That's a natural stone right there, but you can see why they were curious and would have picked it up and used it for something too, maybe. Let's see. I believe this is a big hand chopping axe. See that right there, that bit in? I know that's flake for sure. So I think they crushed open some deer joints and bones with that. So we're pretty much in an ancient kitchen. This was a little bit closer towards the top. I think this is a kid's axe. I found one similar like this before. Them kids had to have something to play around. You see how brittle it is? So that would have been actually used to actually chop something that would have broke too easy, other than make it real quick for a kid to play with. An earthen stone right here, something used for cooking. You see how it fractured from the heat eventually. You can see that intercolored stone, gray, the outside's red. That's that iron being cooked out of it. We got some points right here, some Knox chirp points, I believe, some bird points, some bases all right down through here, probably a hand knife. Got an older point, that might be a Stanley base. I think that's one of the oldest points I got. We're in about middle woodland period, I believe. And this one right here might have been the heartbreaker of the whole batch. That good looking tip, maybe a Donahue tip. The base is slightly fractured right there, but it looks like it's basil notch. That'd be an Eva style point. And for its size, the nice is real still sharp. So that's probably the biggest heartbreak out of the whole bunch. 2 worn out drills right there. I believe that's what those are. Some more bone. See the tip off that? So it's filed down. The antler ain't gonna naturally be that pointy. So that's the tip of an awl. There's some polished bone, I believe. That's why I picked this up. I think it was a tool as well. Here's the inside split. Tip's gone, chipped off of it, but I think that's been polished by, say, a stone like this up here, rubbed smooth. Two of these big pieces, that could have been used to nap all these artifacts. I can't tell. I broke this one on the way out. I can't tell by the tip if it was actually used for flaking, pressure flaking. Very well could be, or it could just be left over the carcass. I know it's a deer antler, obviously, by what it is, and some of these inside declaws, kind of like a dog has on the inside of their legs. This one was really nice, this scraper. Once I cleaned this off with some water and had it wet, it really made that material pop and shine. And we got an old corner notch. That was right here at the very end in the deep spot, in that 4-foot mark. Probably the oldest point we got out of there. 5-sided hexagonal point. So it's 5-sided. That's probably one of the last points they would have been making. I think that's a Jack Reef's pentagonal. That could only be like 500 years old or 1,000. So this would have been the last little style they were making before metal got introduced to them by the Spanish. That might be a Capina, auriculated, another woodland middle point, maybe a Camp Creek style here. This one, probably one of my favorite finds out of there, most unique. I think that's a half or a shaft scraper. So it's worked on both edges as an arrowhead was, and then turned into a tool right here where they just pressure flake this little, it looks like a drill hole, but it's not, it's pressure flaked to where you could debark the arrows and spears and sharpen them up and whatnot. So that's the thing. That'd have been, you had the exact same circumference all around that shaft. They'd been grinding it down. A broken bit off a celt head right here. See that point? That'd have been the bit end. So it fractured off. You can tell, if I get this camera to focus for you. Yeah, see the bit end right there, how sharp it is? You see where they grounded it to a fine point, a sharp edge right there. It'd have been a little bitty celt, which they do exist. And my best two finds are gonna be these down here, this bowl. This is a biconical base of a bowl. I do not have a basal piece like that, but that shows the very bottom. Yeah, it is odd shaped, and I figured out why. They would have just set them down in soft soil or loose sand like that when they would have been cooking, or even in the ash and charcoals, and they'd have been cooking like that. You would think they'd have a wide, flat base, but they didn't do that. So that's the first example I've actually got physically of a base of a bowl. Always got the top edge rims and pieces, but I don't have a perfect cutaway view like that of a bowl. And this one is the best find of that whole dig, I think. That is a couple 1,000-year-old, 1 to 2,000 if we're in this middle woodland period, sewing needle of his deer on the bone. See how it naturally fits just perfect. That'd have been used to, like I said earlier in the video, puncture holes in hard leather, basket weave, any kind of multi-tool. It's polished and smoothed down right here on the tip. That's how I know it's a tool. And here's another broken hole in the bone that come out of that pit. Yeah, that one finally fractured away and they chunked it. But that right there is neat. Especially being the first person to touch this in so many years. But that right there was a heck of a dig. Tons of sweat went into it. We're gonna pick up right beside it here soon. But in the meantime, you guys like and subscribe below the banks. We're gonna have a whole lot more artifacts coming up out of there.